All right, so I just did a video talking about how we find the possible rational zeros. And we went through the whole process here and found that x equals -2 is one of my answers. I need 3 answers because I have x cubed as my highest exponent. So that tells me how many zeros I need. So now I have 2x squared plus 8x minus 1. Okay, so let's write that up here. 2x squared plus 8x minus 1. Okay? From here, there's a lot of different methods I could use to solve to find out what x is, and it's quadratic. So, I mean, with quadratics, we can try x factor, we could try complete the square, blank space, we could do quadratic formula. Mr. Schwant, because he's crazy, he's actually going to complete the square, okay? Which means he needs to get a to be 1, so he's going to factor out a 2 here. And when he factors out a 2, that becomes 4x. And then this minus 1 gets pushed off to the side here. Okay. And now we would do, so equals 0. All right. So we take half of b, which is half of 4, which is 2. 2 squared is 4. But if I add 4 to the left side of the equation, I'm going to add 4 to the right side. And the 2 that we factored out also affects the 4 over here. Okay, so if I do my math correctly here, so I have 2, and then that becomes x. This is plus. That's going to be 2 squared minus 1 equals, and then 4 times 2 is 8. 0 plus 8 is 8. Okay, so add 1 to both sides. And that's going to give me 2x plus 2 squared equals 9. Divide by 2. X plus 2 squared equals 9 over 2 is 4.5. Now, normally I don't like using decimals, but because we're going to graph, decimals make it a lot easier, so I'm going to do that. All right, so then I take the square root of both sides. And that's going to give me x plus 2 equals plus or minus, because I just took the square root. Square root of 4.5. Don't know that one off the top of my head, but if I had to guess, it's going to be 2.12. Let's see how close I am. Type into my calculator here. So the square root of 4.5. 2.12. Ha! Look at me go. All right, 2.12. Then I would subtract 2 from both sides. And x equals -2 plus or minus 2.12, which actually gives me 2 different answers, right, if I split this up. So -2 plus 2.12 would give me 0.12. And if I -2 minus 2.12 gives me -4.12. All right, so, and by the way, because my square root didn't work out to be a perfect square, 4.5. That's why that's irrational. So the only number that would have worked is -2 in my list, by the way. All right, so I have 3 answers. I have 1, I have 2, and I have 3 answers. Okay? And now we need to actually graph this. So I'm going to erase my, my failed attempts here to try to find that rational zero. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're just going to graph the x-intercepts, and this is just going to be a rough sketch. I know that if we had graphing calculators and Desmos to use, online calculators, we could make it look really nice, but we don't really need to. Just general is fine. Okay, so I have -2, -1, -2. I have So I have -2, I have 0.12, which would be very close to 0, and -4.12. We'll say it's all the way out here. Okay. Now that I have my graph, so that's 0.12. All right. Now that I have my graph, we have to identify if it's positive or negative, but the +2 makes it positive. Okay, the highest exponent is 3, making it an odd function, meaning my ends will be going in different directions from low to high. And it will take 2 turns because the highest exponent is 3, and we take 1 off, so it's 2. And so if I were to draw a picture of this, it would look like this. Something like this. Not exactly, but we get the general idea. Okay? So there's 2 turns in there. It's going from low to high, and there we go. So the thing is that you have to, once you get it to be a quadratic, so like 2x squared plus 8x minus 1, there's a lot of different ways we could solve. With higher polynomials such as cubes to the 4th, to the 5th, to the 6th, our options are limited. And the P over Q possible rational root theorem is the most effective way to solve. And then from there, we can break it down to solve those other pieces. So that is how you find all the remaining zeros and how to make a rough sketch of the graph.